Hi, this is Bill Safer, and welcome to another episode of Hidden Treasures. We have a very special returning guest today who will answer a lot of your questions about auctions, what you bring, what to look for, and he's an expert at that. And before I introduce him, I would like to give a hello or a shout out to Bamboo Garden, a relatively new Chinese restaurant in West Boylston after the Wachusett Reservoir. And it's relatively new, like I say, and the food was great, the portions were great, and the staff was very, very nice. And it's hard to find sometimes a good Chinese restaurant that you enjoy. So give it a try. Okay, I will go right to, this is Mr. Wayne Tuiskula of Central Mass Auctions. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. Great to be back with you.
Thank you. Wayne, what I'm going to do is, you're a master at this now on TV, so I'm going to let you go in the way you want to go with what you want to show. Maybe I'll interject a question, but I understand you have auctions coming up and other things too. But I wanted to ask just a couple of questions.
Sure.
Could you give our viewers your contact information?
Sure. So it's Central Mass Auctions is the name of our company, and can be reached at info@centralmassauctions.com. That's a great way to contact us if you have pictures you'd like to send, things you'd like to know about. Or you can also call us at 508-612-6111.
Okay, and do you have Facebook page?
We do, yeah. Facebook /Central Mass Auctions.
Okay, and a lot of people have been asking me about auctions and who do I go to and what do I bring. So I know you have answers to that, and a lot of your talks that you give when you show what people bring in and what it's going for. But do you accept people just walking in with things?
We don't because we actually have a Boston location as well. So do it by appointment or typically. So it's best if they contact us first before instead of just popping in, because might just be a receptionist there.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now you wanted to start with some toys that you're going with. So.
Yeah. So we're doing auctions online now. COVID changed the way we do things. We used to run live auctions pretty much exclusively, but we now we're online, and we do a wide variety of things. We have a auction coming up soon. It'll be starting early October, and it's toys and comic books. And so I brought a couple of toys along to show your guests.
Thank you.
First one is the Bionic Woman lunchbox, and the
condition of that is remarkable.
The condition is fantastic. It looks like it just came out of the factory. Things to look for: check to see if it has a thermos. The thermos is going to add some value to that, and I won't take it out now, but the thermos looks as good as the lunchbox does.
But you have the original tag on it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe I can spin it over, and but you'll see that
Aladdin's still famous.
Right. Yeah. And so having that tag makes a big difference. And they stopped selling these lunch boxes because the steel ones could be used as a weapon by the kids, so they switched to plastic. But this one's from 1978, and may not sound old to people of my age, but it's pretty collectible.
To a collector,
it is.
Love that.
And so it's I've seen it could be $200 to $500 range on that.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think it would go for? So, and from the few auctions I've been to, people don't hesitate to spend that on a lunchbox if they want it.
Exactly, yeah. And since we've been online, it's really opened things up. So could be someone in California bidding against someone in Kansas.
I joined that online. I think it was great because you could come down and pick them up, or I think you could arrange to have them mailed if it was a small item.
We did, yeah. We offer a local pickup and shipping services.
That's great.
And the next item is also going to be from that same auction. It's over on the side near you. It's and it's still in the original package. So it's got all the original wrappers, and that's a Herman Munster bobblehead, and that's from '64.
Wow.
And having it in that condition, unopened, is very hard to find.
Look at that condition. It's just like it was just out of the toy store.
It is, yeah. It's amazing to find it like that. And these came from a collector in Boston, and he's been on different reality TV shows. So he looked for things in very nice condition, which helps the value. And if you buy things, we always recommend to collectors buy the best condition that you can afford. So that could be. I think that's going to bring low four figures, 1,000, maybe even to 2,000 on Herman Munster.
You know, there's that show Collector's Call on TV by the little girl.
Right.
Well, they had toys and other things in the past, and these people purposely years ago started saving these toys and just putting them away, and they didn't know how smart they were.
Exactly, yeah. And I did write a column in some local newspapers, and I looked up, tried to find out what some of the best ones from the 80s were. It seemed like Star Wars toys were the most popular then. And 90s kind of surprised me. It was My Little Pony toys. Some of those
are bringing, those,
yeah, we're bringing just crazy prices.
How about like Bonanza and Marshall Dillon and all those? They usually go pretty well.
They do, but so it's somewhat cyclical. So when I started doing this, it was Roy Rogers, Hopalong Cassidy were big, but now people who grew up with that era just aren't buyers anymore. So now we're kind of getting into the '60s. People who grew up watching Bonanza or Beverly Hillbillies.
The new generation, what they like.
Yeah, they still are collectible, but the market's not maybe as strong as it was 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Is there what they call a holy grail of lunchboxes?
We have one, I think, that's pretty close. It's a Beatles lunchbox from '64, and it's not quite in the condition of Bionic Woman, but it's in pretty nice condition. So that's a good one to find.
That'll be in four figures, right?
That should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, we have this picture.
Yeah. So we're doing auctions pretty regularly. It's been very busy, and we've been getting a lot of calls, and we handle a lot of different collections, or could just be things out of an estate. But we try to get things directly from estates or collectors, and so in this case. Someone from Buffalo actually brought this to us. A woman was a stewardess, now of course called flight attendant, but with Pan Am, and she worked on some of the jets that brought the presidents around. So there she has some mementos from flights with JFK and President Nixon, President Johnson. So it's quite a nice collection. But she also she didn't come, but the person who brought the things for her brought this photo, and he said that President Kennedy signed that for her on the airplane.
You could see the writing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's personalized to her, which some people don't like that, but I think a lot of collectors do, because it think it gives it more validity,
more personal.
Right. Yeah. And so. There's some things you can get graded and you can get authenticated. Like some of the toys, there are grading services for that.
They do that with toys, like they do cards and coins?
They do, yeah. Toys now have a grading service. I've seen things encapsulated.
Sometimes people won't buy it if it hasn't been rated.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think toys, you're starting to see it a little more, but it's not like baseball cards or comic books. But authentication for an autograph is typically... for an important one like this, I'd say I'd almost always recommend, because I could say it looks good to me, but I'm not the authority on it, and they want somebody who can guarantee that it's actually a Kennedy.
You're right, because on Pawn Stars, they always have this guy come around who specializes in signatures.
Right.
He can tell everybody from Washington all the way to the latest. And then the guy goes, "Are you sure that that's his signature?" He says, "Yes."
Yeah. So he may be an expert on it, and maybe he'll write a certificate with it. And there are different companies that you can send it to that will do the same thing. So we like having that third-party certificate of authenticity. So this is going to be sent to them to.
To me, that's a great idea because they don't have to ask, what about this picture? Whether there's a real, is this and that, you know?
They don't, and there are different things with an autograph too, like that. They didn't necessarily try to fake it, but they used an auto pen so that you could write the signature once, and you could the auto pen would just recreate that signature over and over, so the person didn't actually sign it.
And then they had secretaries sometimes that sign it.
Exactly, yeah, secretarial signature, or a secretary or someone in the office might sign the person's signature.
Well, your auctions are very popular, and I noticed that you're going farther and farther out, like the virtual ones, and the other ones that you have locally, you advertise heavily. So if you have anything to auction, you go see Central Mass Auctions, because you auctioned off my aunt's things, and they did very well.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Yeah, it was our pleasure. And, so yeah, we have been. We have a big presence on the web too, and I get a lot of calls now outside of the area. I have someone from Minnesota bringing some art to us. I was just in Brooklyn picking some things up. So if it's a great state, we'll travel to go get it.
Yeah, I mean, I always like the estate sales better than the yard sales, even though you can find great things at both. But the estate sales, like sometimes the woman will collect cosmetic boxes, you know, or lipstick cases. I found sterling ones with stones on them, and they're all in a basket, $5, you know, because they don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there's a whole club on the internet about ladies' cosmetics, and these people are buying these little perfume vials that were made by Tiffany and all these things. Some are $1,000, some are more. So the compacts, don't throw them away.
No, yeah, there's collector groups for pretty much everything. When I was out at Brimfield, I used to see people with KOOKS, Kooks, on their shirts, and they were collectors of old kitchen stuff. So there's collectors for everything out there.
Well, I had someone tell me that be on the lookout for Pyrex with this flower or that flower, and I said, they're going to be worth money? He said, go look on the internet. And one Pyrex glass pan in a certain design, $1,500, $1,000.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, I have seen some of those too. Some of the ones that are just rare, and they can bring $1,500, like you said.
Now this fork you have, this is for the Kennedys, right? Is it to that account?
Yeah. So actually, that one is out of that's from an estate in Amherst in Western Mass, and they had we usually don't sell a lot of furniture. For a lot of the furniture, the market is very weak. I should also mention glassware, china, a lot of it. The market has just dipped considerably. But in this case, they had a lot of mid-century modern design furniture from the 60s. And
beautiful stuff.
Danish pieces, like some of them, and famous makers. But this was part of the estate as well. And that's not a little older than mid-century, but it's a Danish maker. And I know you know sterling very well also. And when sometimes people will ask, should I scrap my sterling? And the answer is maybe, but if it's a nice pattern like this, please don't scrap it to people at home. Yeah.
I've tried to drill into people's heads that want to collect it. I said, get a book on foreign hallmarks, because everybody doesn't say sterling, doesn't say 925. I told them I've gotten cigarette cases and match safes that were English silver, and no one was buying them. I bought one. This is my biggest find. It's not like gigantic, but I bought it for 50 cents on an antique shop at Water Street, and it sold for $1,600.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
so, because I saw the English hallmarks, and the red stones were rubies. because I said, they're not going to make something of this quality. It was heavy, you know, everything about it was high gauge. So I said, this has got to be rubies, and it was.
Well, knowledge in an area like that's really important. There are some people who specialize and may know Asian antiques, or especially Chinese antiques, and some of the values in those are just through the roof. So if you have an area like you do with silver that you're knowledgeable in, you can make finds like that.
Well, you're talking about Asia. I think it was last year in Connecticut they had a yard sale, and this man picked up. He was a collector of Asian pottery, and he was feeling this pot, and he said to his wife, "It has decorations and pictures, but you can't feel the picture line." He said that usually was for royalty. So he went up, he said, "How much?" And the guy said $35. I think he ended up selling it, I'm not sure, it was like over $500,000. It belonged to royalty in a certain dynasty.
Yeah, those finds are still out there. You hear about them every once in a while. Someone makes that great yard sale, estate sale find.
I tell people, don't give up. I said, New England is one of the best places in the United States, like California is, because coastal communities where ships were coming in,
right,
and you get all different kinds of things. You were an appraiser, I just wanted to tell the audience, on Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah,
I remember seeing you on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was a collectibles appraiser, and got a chance to. The big thing I got to appraise when I was there was Elliot Ness's credentials, and you can't on the Antiques Roadshow just tell people, try to solicit business directly. Right. But if they ask you, you can tell them you have a card in the back. So I told these folks who had that I had a card in the back, and about a year later they called me, and we got to auction Elliot Ness's 2 sets of credentials and some other things. And
top of the heap, as they say.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I put a press release together, and I sent it to some newspapers. I figured Chicago would be a good area because that's where he was with the Untouchables, but didn't hear anything back. And then I sent it to Cleveland, where he had been safety director, and the plain dealer picked it up. And next thing you know, I've got my phone is ringing off the hook with interviews, and it was a pretty exciting time. And we got $46,000 for them, and they're in the National Law Enforcement Museum now. So that was the highlight from there. But
that's great.
But I wasn't able to do it for as long as I would have liked. My daughter was playing travel softball, and that was on weekends. We had to bring her to tournaments, and that's when they taped. So
to me, that's more important. Your family life, you know.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's why you went and took her to all these things.
Yeah, and she wanted to get recruited to a college. So I didn't do it as much as for a long time, because they stopped asking me every time I kept saying no. But it was fun when I did.
I remember you on there. Yeah. There was an appraiser. Usually did Asian things. He was a heavy guy with a little ponytail. I don't know where he got the hair. You don't remember him?
I think there's a local man, James Callahan.
So that was it. And I saw him walking around the flea market in Arundel in Kennebunk.
Oh.
And he's looking at things, and he looks strange, and no one's looking at him, and he looks. And I wouldn't dare go over and say, "Hey, you're from the Antique Roadshow." Then everyone's price, flies up in the air. But I imagine these guys pick things that they know what they're looking for in their specialty.
Yeah, kind of like you did with that silver piece. I'm sure if he finds out some Asian things that he knows about, he'll buy them.
I know a little bit about Japanese samurai swords, and a friend of mine lived off of Highland Street. He inherited 2 from his father. So he had them on the bed, and he said, "How about $50 a piece for these?" And I said, "Are you drinking at lunchtime now?" Because I know this guy well. I said, "These are genuine. I could tell by the Hammond line, where they dipped it in clay. Some of them had writing on the tang, and one of them, I recognized the letters, had a body test, which they would sometimes use convicted criminals or bodies to see how many could go through.
Oh, wow.
6 was the record. So he ended up selling them each for about $3,000 or $4,000.
Wow.
They weren't royalty or anything, but not $50.
Well, that's great. It's a good thing they invited you over to look.
Yeah. But so if people are interested in bringing things to you for an auction, is it better? Well, I guess you never know, to bring one item, or should they bring everything they have of that subject? Or you'd probably rather look at it and not take it yourself if you think it's not worth it, because you will tell people, like these are styrofoam. I wouldn't be able to sell these. So I'm sure you've had pieces that you had to sort of politely say, no, we can't sell this.
Yeah, exactly. And we get a lot of submissions through our website where people send us things, and I typically ask for some photos first, and that helps me determine things. And then what we've been doing a lot of now are virtual assessments. So if it's something like Brooklyn before
like
we
Zoom,
take a
you
ride.
show them the item and you look at it?
Yes, Zoom. I've used Zoom, or a lot of times with an iPhone, you can do FaceTime, and they just turn their phone around, and it's like I'm there. So
it's perfect. You can see the details on the silver and everything.
Exactly, yeah.
If I have to yell at people, hold it closer, not 4 feet away.
Right. Yeah, so that's been working out really well, especially now that, like you mentioned, our business has expanded. We're outside of Worcester.
That's great. What is your personal highest Holy Grail item that you found and it sold for a high price? Do you have one?
Well, the nest would be good, but there's some other things. A couple other things that come to mind. I had a woman one time who said that she had got an appraisal on these posters from the late 1800s, early 1900s of someone had told her they were worth 200, and she asked if I could put them in the auction that night, and I said, why don't you give me some time and let me promote these? Right. And I called her up and I said, what do you think your poster sold for? And she wouldn't answer then, but $15,000 for the poster she had gotten a $200 appraisal for. And there was this more recently, gentleman had something from the Worcester County Jail. It was all kinds of ephemera. There were lists of things that they purchase orders and wide variety of things.
Those are collectible.
They are collectible, but right intact was a wanted poster for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
You mean a real one from the period?
Yes.
That must have been a good one.
That was pretty exciting. So it was nice because I went over to ask him, what do you think your thing sold for? I don't know, a couple $100. I said, well, how about if I give you a check for $4,000? So it's nice when that happens.
It is. I was at an auction years ago, and this lady brought in a little jade teapot. And the auctioneer said, if this goes for $1,000, we'll consider you lucky. Well, it turned out to be of a certain dynasty that people recognized, and she got $14,000 for that.
Wow.
And even the auctioneer said, well, I got that one wrong. Well, but that's the fun of an auctioneer, being in an auction or owning an auction house. You never know the people who are in the audience.
You don't, and that's another reason to pay closer. We've probably had 3 cases now where it's good reason to pay closer attention to those Chinese things that you find, because the market is quite strong, and you could make that great find like that.
There was one, I don't know if you saw that guy, Mason is his name, he does Asian things.
No.
Mason something. But this woman brought in a dog, ancient carved dog from China, and he started crying. So the woman said, anything the matter? He said, no, but I've never seen this, only in books. And it belonged to the certain dynasty, and the king had it next to his throne. And I've seen pictures, but this is one of those items. And I think it ended up, they say, how they update.
Right.
I think it sold for $1,500,000.
Wow, that's great.
And but the people that are so into their craft that if they see something they haven't seen, they cry. I usually cry when the election's over. But that's amazing, though. Those guys. I was on the Antiques Roadshow when it was in Providence.
Oh, okay.
About 20 years ago.
Oh.
And I'm in line, and this person back of me had a clock from Masonic. And I said, that's worth something. I said, that's mechanical. And he says, if I get $100, $30,000.
Wow, that's great.
Now, do you think, just for our viewers,
yes,
do you think there's still possibilities of finding that hidden treasure out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because things keep turning up. Sometimes in my column I'll write about some of the things that have turned up throughout the country, and there are things that just got tucked away in cabinets and forever, and sometimes for years and generations people might not be able to be willing to sell them, but decide to, because sometimes there are no more heirs to pass the things on to, and I've had that happen several
just want
times.
to put it out there, yeah.
Yeah, so I said, there's no one in the family to give it to anymore, so it's time to auction it. So we've had some great things turn up.
Oh, excellent. So people should, before they make their own decision out of not knowing, they should talk to someone that knows, because they could walk into you with hundreds of thousands worth of things, and they don't know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's plenty of times where, like the gentleman who didn't know he had that poster, where we found some things that have just been tucked away. And another time I had some folks call me in for to look at some things on the west side of Worcester, and it was okay, but when I looked through another part that they didn't think was anything special, there were wire photos related to sports, big collection of them. One of the people who it was in the family, a family member, had been an editor for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, so found Babe Ruth photos and all kinds of wire photos.
It's amazing. Well, believe it or not, we've come with about a minute or less left. It always goes by too fast. We could do a 4-hour show and we'd say that went by too fast. But I want to tell you in the audience, look up Central Mass Auctions, Wayne Tuiskula, the president, and if you have any items you have any questions about that might be valuable, maybe it was your grandparents, call Wayne. If you have to take a picture or go on the internet, there's the man that's going to get you the most money for your items. I know from experience. And how's that knife I gave you? Did it sell? No. But I thank you for coming, Wayne.
Oh, thank you, Bill. It's always a pleasure.
I look forward to having you again. I think we'll try to have a marathon. And by the way, Wayne's been with me. We do like Antiques Roadshow Day at the senior centers or something. And it's fun to watch the appraisals that come out of there, even though some of them aren't really appraisals. They don't know what that is, but that's how you learn. And once again, this is Bill Safey, your host for Hidden Treasures, with guest Wayne Tuiskula, Central Mass Auction.